There are two big mistakes that people make when buying a flagship phone. First, assuming that Samsung is the automatic choice for Android users, and second, thinking that paying $1,300 means you're automatically getting the best phone. The new OnePlus 15 makes a surprisingly strong case against that logic. At $900, the OnePlus undercuts the Galaxy S25 Ultra by a full $400 while still packing the latest Snapdragon chip, a massive 7300 mAh battery, and a smoother and brighter display. And yes, OnePlus still gives you a charger in the box while Samsung just gives you a cable. So the question is, should you save your money and get the OnePlus, or does the Galaxy still deserve its Ultra name? Well, the OnePlus 15 starts at $900 for the base 12 256GB version and $1,000 for the 16 and 512GB model. Compare that to $1,300 for the S25 Ultra with 12GB of RAM and 256GB of storage, or $1,430 for the 12 512GB option. So even the most expensive OnePlus still costs less than the base S25 Ultra, and you get a faster charger, bigger battery, and more RAM. Value-wise, it's not even close. But what about looks? The Galaxy S25 Ultra has a bit of a personality: sharper corners, individual lifted camera lenses, and the S Pen. The OnePlus 15, meanwhile, has gone flatter, simpler, and more iPhone-like. But maybe even too much. It feels a bit too generic and safe. The S25 Ultra uses titanium, while OnePlus sticks with aluminum. The difference in hand feel is noticeable to me. Samsung feels a bit more solid. Both are not too heavy, and both have a matte glass back which doesn't catch fingerprints. That's nice. The OnePlus fights back with better water resistance, IP68 and IP69 versus Samsung's IP68. So if your phone ends up under a faucet or somehow in a washing machine, the OnePlus is actually more likely to survive. Now displays, the area where Samsung usually dominates. The OnePlus 15 has a 6.8-inch OLED screen that is now completely flat. The Galaxy has a slightly bigger 6.9-inch panel, and it is also fully flat. The Galaxy has the higher resolution and a bit more detail, but you really have to pixel peep to notice the difference. OnePlus trades the lacking pixels for a higher refresh rate. It runs at 165Hz, smoother than 120. Do you notice that in real-world use? I think I do, but it's a subtle thing, and it could also be the placebo effect. In our display lab test that we measured in-house, we measured the OnePlus hitting a record 3500 nits of peak brightness. Surprisingly, indeed, and that beats the Galaxy, which gets around 2800 nits. But don't rush your conclusions just yet. In a direct comparison outdoors, the Samsung is more legible because it has that incredible anti-reflection technology, while the OnePlus catches a lot of reflections. So the win is still for the Galaxy, if you ask me. The Samsung also gets dimmer at night at under 1 nit, so it's easier on the eyes. Software is where the differences really show though. The Galaxy S25 Ultra runs One UI on Android 16, packed with Galaxy AI features, live translation, AI summaries, generative wallpapers, and the powerful object eraser. The OnePlus 15 runs Oxygen OS 16, also leaning into AI with features like summaries and smart photo editing, but the overall look is simpler and honestly more like iOS than Android. For updates, Samsung promises 7 years of major OS and security updates, while OnePlus only gives you 4 years of OS updates. Samsung clearly wins the longevity battle. But what about the cameras? The S25 Ultra remains the camera king on paper. 200 megapixel main camera, ultra wide, and dual telephoto lenses at 3x and 5x. The OnePlus 15 has a triple camera setup with a main, ultra wide, and 3.5x telephoto lenses. In daylight, OnePlus photos look more vibrant and punchy, while Samsung goes for cooler, sharper tones and slightly darker exposures, which is a bit surprising. It's also surprising that OnePlus adopts high-res 26 megapixel default photos earlier than Samsung, which still defaults to only 12 megapixel shots. And yes, detail is indeed a bit better on the OnePlus. At night, the OnePlus surprisingly holds its own, and I'm also again surprised because the OnePlus 13 often captured some wild night colors. This time with the 15, it's all way more balanced and reasonable. Video is where Samsung stays slightly ahead. cleaner HDR, better stabilization, and a more polished experience. And this is video shot on the Galaxy S25 Ultra and the OnePlus 15. Let's compare the quality and see if the Galaxy is better than the OnePlus or the other way around, or are they pretty much the same. So 4K 30 video using the main camera. Alright, flipping the phones over. This is what I see as my view today. This is the ultra-wide camera, the main one. Have 3 times zoom on the Galaxy, 3.5 times zoom on the OnePlus. You also have a 7 times zoom preset on the OnePlus, 5 and 10x. This is 10x zoom on the Galaxy. Back to the main camera. Span around slowly. I also feel that Samsung's photo editing experience is better. The object eraser is of course the star feature that works great, but Samsung also has some useful features like adding portrait effect to a regular photo after you take it. You don't need to use portrait mode, and this is still somehow very strangely missing on the OnePlus. Alright, next up we have battery life though, and here is where things start to look interesting. The OnePlus 15 has a 7300 mAh battery, the largest by far in any major Western flagship. The Galaxy S25 Ultra, a disappointing 5000 mAh. Same as last year, same as the year before, same as so many years before that. In our battery endurance tests, the OnePlus crossed the 30-hour mark in web browsing, a record, while the S25 Ultra landed with around 21 hours on the clock. A noticeable difference, don't you think? And in real-world use, both can kind of make it through 2 days, but OnePlus does it much more comfortably, and that is a truly liberating experience. Alright, next up we have charging. The OnePlus does 80W wired and 50W wireless charging, while the Galaxy only does 45W wired and 15W wireless. That means a full charge takes around 45 minutes on the OnePlus, very fast, versus around 75 minutes on the Galaxy. So this is an easy OnePlus win. Neither of these support magnetic charging though, and I consider this a big miss. That's a big convenience. Okay, but what about performance? The OnePlus after all is the first to get the new Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 5 chip, and in benchmarks, it shows. The OnePlus scores higher in sustained performance and runs cooler during gaming, a lot cooler. We measured nearly 99% stability in 3D Mark on the OnePlus. These are numbers we rarely see on gaming phones. My god, impressive. If you're a gamer, the OnePlus makes a lot more sense. Next up, let's talk audio. Both have stereo speakers, both get loud, but the Galaxy still wins for audio tuning with slightly deeper bass, and it's less muffled at higher volumes with clearer mids. The OnePlus gets louder, yes, but sounds flatter and slightly harsher at max volume. So at the end of the day, OnePlus 15 versus Galaxy S25 Ultra, which one should you buy? The Galaxy still wins for camera versatility, display refinement, features like S Pen and long software support. But the OnePlus absolutely crushes it on battery life, performance, and of course value. If you're someone who wants the absolute best Android camera and doesn't mind paying more, go with the Galaxy. But if you want 90% of that experience for hundreds less, with faster charging, better battery endurance, the OnePlus 15 is the smarter buy. And I think that this should have Samsung a little worried.